going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Niners News here on 49ers Hive. My name is Zach Hernandez, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Matt Llewellyn. And today we're going to be talking about the 49ers trading Kwon Alexander to the New Orleans Saints. Matt, when I got this notification on my phone today at work, I was caught by surprise. I'm not going to lie. Is this something that you weren't too shocked by, or were you in my camp as well?
Well, I mean, I thought it would happen eventually. Like probably in the off season, but am I shocked that he's gone? No. I mean, he always talks about the block is hot. Well, it's been cooling off for quite a while. And, this is one of those things where he made a bunch of money for 13 games. I think somebody said like 25 million for 13 games. It was a big contract. And to be honest, Dre Greenlaw has proved himself to be a more reliable, more healthy player. So if you look at their coverage skills being essentially a wash, Dre Greenlaw does the one thing that Kwon Alexander can't do, and that's make tackles consistently. So I think it was time. I think this actually frees up some money. The 49ers have a lot of people they need to re-sign. They need to have a lot of things that they need to go through in the offseason to kind of figure out where their roster is going to go. And it's looking like this season was just snake bit from the start. So, I'm not shocked that they're moving him. But it was a surprise to see, especially after Lynch came out before the game last week and said, I don't anticipate making any, big trades or whatever before the deadline. So it's just another case of, something not working out. And hopefully, they can learn from it, move on, use the money wisely this time and not be as reactionary in the market. I'd like to see them put that towards maybe Trent Williams or somebody like that. But you never know. Obviously, what Kwon brought last year was pretty awesome in terms of energy level and things like that, but the on-field production just wasn't there. So best of luck to him, and no hard feelings or anything, but I'm okay with the move.
Yeah, best of luck to him, except for when the 49ers play the Saints in a couple of weeks. So just to kind of give you guys the details, he was traded for a 5th-round pick and Kiko Alonso, the linebacker from the Saints. And I saw David Lombardi tweeted out that they took on $6.9 million of dead money in 2021, but they'll save $8.6 million. So they still come out saving more than they're spending. And, it's unfortunate because I heard John Lynch say that too. And I think a lot of people I saw on Twitter were reading into it that, he lied to us, and mind you, he's a GM. Of course he's going to lie. But I read this more as, and maybe I'm being a little bit more of a conspiracy theorist here, but I read it more as they weren't planning on losing Sunday. And maybe they thought if they win Sunday, they might be able to pick up some steam, win a couple more, and they might make the playoffs. But not only did they lose Sunday, but they lost Jimmy Garoppolo, they lost George Kittle. They lost some major pieces to this offense. And I think maybe that was John Lynch saying, okay, I think I'm understanding this correctly. We're not doing anything this year. Why don't we just sell and let's prepare for next year? Maybe get us in position to get a quarterback if possible. So that's how I'm reading it. Do you think I'm kind of way out of left field here?
I don't know. Kind of. I think the reality of the situation was, part of it is I'm sure they planned on competing and didn't have all these injuries. But the other part is when he made that statement, he probably wasn't planning on making moves. Things happen.
True.
They saw a way to get out from under that contract when the getting was good. It's something that I think they're going to struggle even more with when it comes to D Ford, because D Ford is so often injured that it's going to be hard to move him. And this is like one of those pure NBA salary dump style things, Yeah. Kiko Alonso will likely never play for the 49ers. He's still recovering from a torn ACL that he suffered like January of last year. So, it's one of those things where the 49ers were just looking to get out from under a contract because they have so many guys that they have to sign, and they pick up a conditional pick that allows them to kind of replenish some of that. They've shown that they're really good. The 5th round seems to be one of the rounds that they like the best. That's where Greenlaw came from. That's where Kittle came from. That they've had good success there. So moving forward, I think they have confidence in picking up a cheap replacement for Kwon Alexander. And it was one of those deals where he couldn't stay healthy. But they found somebody to take him on. So I don't know that it was, if we win, we'll keep him. If we don't, we'll move him. I think it was just something that just came up, and it'll be interesting to see who reached out to who. I don't know if we'll get that information because, like you said, fans are going to be mad that the GM lied. But the whole point of this regime, the whole purpose, and the thing that we like the most about this regime is that there's no leaks, especially after the Trent Baalke, Jim Harbaugh, everything's leaking out of everywhere. It's a sinking ship. This is, they've gotten it tightened up. So, yeah, I don't know. But I do expect them to actually make another move or two before the trade deadline. I could see that happening, but you'd never know it. So anybody who's mad that John Lynch, said one thing and then did another, one, we don't know the circumstances. Two, he's obviously not going to come out and tell you what his plans are. That's not his responsibility. It's not his job. His job is to make the best moves that he feels are for the San Francisco 49ers. And that's plain and simple. That's it. So I actually like this move. I like the space that it creates. And, it again, when you have somebody like Dre Greenlaw coming up in his second year and progressing, and Dre Greenlaw, who's healthy, it makes Kwon Alexander a little bit expendable. So why not get out from under that big contract? They already restructured him once. They were going to face a lot of dead money, coming up again. He has injury guarantees and he's been injured. So if somebody else is going to take him, by all means. That doesn't mean that, the 49ers are just like, we'll get to it later. It would turn out later that we're kind of punting on the season, it sounds like. But that move in and of itself doesn't mean that the 49ers are just giving up on the season. I think it was just a shrewd move to make cap space to maneuver in the future, especially with the uncertainty of what the cap's actually going to be next year.
Yeah, I hear you. And I think that's a good point. I think that this move can be independent of what the 49ers did with George and Jimmy Garoppolo and everything with their injuries. I think that they can still move Kwon even if they were planning on being successful this year and making the playoffs possibly. But I think that everything just kind of happened coincidentally at the same time. And I think a lot of people were shocked that they traded him to New Orleans, who's kind of been the rival in the NFC recently. I mean, last year specifically, but going back to even, Alex Smith and Vernon Davis years. But
yeah, that's just the fan thing though, isn't it?
Like it is.
Anybody
that
can play in any meaningful rival. So the Cardinals are a rival, and the Rams are a rival, and the Seahawks are a rival, and the Cowboys are a rival, and everybody's a rival. Kansas City's now a rival, because Jimmy tore his ACL and then they lost in the Super Bowl. That's just the fans' gamesmanship or whatever. These GMs, as long as it's outside of the division, they don't really care. Honestly, we don't have to play the Saints every single year. You know what I mean? It just so happens that we're playing them back-to-back years in New Orleans, which is such an aberration that, I would challenge actually anybody in the comments who wants to figure out when the last time that's happened, that, two non-division teams have played in the same stadium back-to-back years or whatever, because it rotates, so yeah.
I agree.
It doesn't mean that they're rivals, but I do understand what you're saying, that it's like, the rich keep getting richer. And, credit to the Saints. I think somebody tweeted out today that they're like $216 million in payroll for next year on the hook for, when the salary cap's supposed to be like 175. So they're going all in. I don't think it's going to work. I don't think that they're good enough to make it, but hats off to them. 2020 has been a weird year, so who knows what could happen.
Alexander, like you said, the moment that he went out last year, I think everybody kind of held their breath and everybody was like, there goes, a lot of the defense this year. He was the heart and soul of that defense, at least, in the linebacker core. And then everybody was kind of like, oh, there's not that big of a drop off here with this Greenlaw guy. He's actually pretty good. He's pretty solid. And we had known Greenlaw previously to that, but we never really seen him in extended periods of play. And once we finally saw him get out there, we were like, he's quite athletic. He seems to be pretty smart. The guy can fly from sideline to sideline, and he doesn't miss tackles, like you said. So I think that's the biggest thing right there, is that the 49ers definitely are able to feel comfortable going to a guy like Greenlaw instead of having to pay all that extra money for a guy who's often injured and who doesn't really quite play up to par that they were hoping to get out of him.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that I think this is like the first move in like a soft retooling of the team. I think the complexion of the team is going to be a lot different next year. Just injuries have decimated this season. And again, it's one of those best ability is availability, and he hasn't been available. He had the 2 major injuries last year, which was the pec and the bicep. And then, he's had the ankle thing this year. And it's just, so this is going to be like a soft retooling of the 49ers roster. They have a lot of pieces going forward. The season's kind of been punted on with the injuries. It's going to look a lot different next year. And this is just the first step to clear up, space to maybe re-sign somebody and kind of give themselves cap relief, because they've really been under the gun as far as the cap goes. And depending on what happens with Jimmy Garoppolo, depending on what happens with Dee Ford and if they're able to move him, this team is going to look a lot different. And I think this is the first domino that's being, pushed over in terms of trying to get back to that level that they were at last year, and relieving themselves of their cap issues that they have. So, it remains to be seen. There's a lot of things that still need to happen. The trade deadline is coming up. Maybe they make 1 or 2 more moves. But all in all, I thought this was, a trade that benefits both teams. Kind of sad to see Kwon go, but, also happy that Dre Greenlaw was able to step up and make him kind of expendable. So, all's well that ends well, and I think this works out well for the 49ers.
Yeah, and I'll always have my Hot Boys sweater, Hot Boys shirt, Hot Boys for life. That was a cool memory to have.
Or for a season, I guess.
Yeah, for a season. Johnny Volk of the 49ers tweeted out kind of like a hype video when he returned for that Vikings playoff game. And I replied to him, I'm like, when this video came out, life was so good. The 49ers were fantastic, about to crush the Vikings in a playoff game. If we could go back to that day, I would be very happy. But we cannot, unfortunately, and I think that's going to do it for us today, guys.
Yeah.
If you like what you see, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Niners News. Hit that like button. Drop a comment below. What do you think about the Kwon Alexander trade? Are you sad to see him go? And make sure you wish him luck in New Orleans.
Go ahead and click the bell for notifications, and you'll never miss another video. Until next time, go Niners.